don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that anytime we upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you.
First and foremost, just offering all honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks to the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov. Thanking him for all things and everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers. Shabbat Shalom L'kol.
Shabbat Shalom L'kol.
Please be seated. Thanking the Most High God for life.
Amen.
Thanking him for strength. Thanking him for food, for clothing, and for shelter. Thanking the Most High God because he is good. He's kind and he's merciful and he's compassionate. Thanking the Most High God because his mercy endures forever. Hoping and praying, asking that the Most High will be with my mind and be with my words, that I can bring forth this lesson in a manner that's acceptable before him, that I might be able to speak the words before his people that will allow us to understand God just a little bit better and understand our path back to God. So with that, we're going to go into the portion of Jeremiah, and I'm going to be going through Jeremiah chapters 39 and 40. And I'm going to speak to this thing, to these two chapters from all scripturally, but from a historic point of view and also from a political point of view. I know a lot of times we don't really see politics in scripture, but if you don't see politics in scripture, and I'm not talking about politics in the contemporary term politics, where you're talking about Republicans and Democrats. When I speak to politics, I'm speaking about how countries are governed, how people run countries, how people run nations, and the responsibility that those people have to the people that they govern. So before we start chapter 39, I'm just going to give a couple of scriptures for y'all to read at your leisure. Go through them. When you read this portion, you should also read this portion in conjunction with 2 Kings chapter 25, because in 2 Kings chapter 25, it actually gives a little bit more detail about what happened. They give a couple of verses here on how the Babylonians breached the wall and what happened when they breached the wall. But when you look in 2 Kings chapter 25, it actually goes into a little bit more detail. The other thing that I'm going to ask you guys to read on your own in conjunction with this portion is read Jeremiah chapter 21. Because in Jeremiah chapter 21, they asked Jeremiah to go to God and ask God how he planned to, what they should do and how they should move. The Babylonians had already come, and they had already taken the first wave of some of the people from the southern kingdom. They had already come. And so there was a lot of different things happening, and they didn't know. So they asked Jeremiah, what should we do? And God returned word back through Jeremiah where he said, because at this point, God was, the level of our behavior was just intolerable before God at this point. And in Jeremiah chapter 21, God returned word to Jeremiah, and God told him, he says, listen, I'm going to fight against everybody who stays in this city. Everyone who decides to stay, he said, because I already told you, which Babylon is going to come. Babylon is going to carry captives. For everyone who chooses to stay in this city, I'm going to fight against you, and I'm going to fight with Babylon. So when you read this portion and you see, and we look and we see that this might seem a bit harsh on how things happen, just remember that God had already told them, I'm going to fight against everybody who remains in this city, because at this point it was already determined that the king of Babylon was going to come and he was going to take everybody captive. So just read those two portions when you get a chance, and let's start in verse 1, please.
We're in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 39, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it came to pass when Jerusalem was taken, in the 9th year of Zedekiah king of Yehudah, in the 10th month came Nebuchadrezzar king of Babylon, and all his army against Jerusalem, and besieged it. In the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, the 9th day of the month, a breach was made in the city, that all the princes of the king of Babylon came in and sat in the middle gate, even Nergal Sarezer, Samgar Nebo, Sar Sekin, Rab Saris, Nergal Sarezer, Rab Mag, and with all the residue of the princes of the king of Babylon.
All right. So just a little history. When Babylon first came and they took the first wave of captives, the king of Babylon put Zedekiah in charge. And Zedekiah was in charge, and Zedekiah paid tribute to the king of Babylon, and then at a certain point, Zedekiah decided that he wasn't going to pay no more. Mm-hmm. And so when you read in those other portions where it says, and Zedekiah rebelled, and I know it says Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon, but the thing about it was that God had already predetermined that they were going to go. So when Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon, he was actually rebelling against God, because he was rebelling against what God had already set that was going to take place. So in the 9th year of Zedekiah, he rebelled. And so what happened is, and that's what they talk about. They say the Babylonians came and the Babylonians besieged the city. They compassed the city about. Nothing can go in, nothing can go out. And I actually had when you look at this wall, so you see it took them 2 years and 8 months to actually breach that wall. The reason that it took so long is when you see pictures of the wall in Jerusalem, the wall that's around the city, the wall is actually 2.5, 3 feet of solid stone. And so it took them, that's how long it took. And what they did was they continued to build a ramp, and they continued to pick at the wall until they finally made a breach in the wall. And once they made that breach in the wall, that's when you see. And the captains of the guard of Babylon, it said that they came in and they just stood right in the middle gate of the city. And they just stood there. And at this point, the Israelites couldn't fight. They couldn't do anything because they was hungry. They hadn't been eaten. And at that point, they was defeated. And God had already said, I'm going to fight against you with the king of Babylon. So it said when they came in and they just stood at the middle of the gate. Come on.
Verse 4. And it came to pass that when Zedekiah, the king of Yehuda, and all the men of war saw them, then they fled and went forth out of the city by night, by the way of the king's garden.
Dig that. Right?
By the gate.
So, No. So just think about it. Once they made the breach in the city, the king and all of the army, the people who were supposed to be there to defend, they left. They left out through another gate, and they started running, and they started heading east. Just the way, no protection, no fighting, no anything. The king, who's supposed to be the last one, the king left, and all of the soldiers left. And it just show you, when God is against you,
that's right,
you have no power in your hand to do anything. And so they left, and they ran. Can you pull up that picture that I sent you that says, I think it says Jeremiah 39:5. Come on.
By the gate betwixt the two walls, and he went out the way of the Arabah. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after them, and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho.
No, not that. No, not that one, the other one. So when you look at, for those online, when you look at that picture, it shows you where they were in Jerusalem and how far they ran to go to. They were headed towards Jericho, because the main goal of what they were trying to do was they were trying to get over to the Jordan River so that they could cross the Jordan River. But the Chaldeans and the Chaldean army, they picked them up and they overtook them right in the plains of Jericho, where you see on that map. That's how far they fled, and that's where they caught him. Come on.
And when they had taken him, they brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Riblah, in the land of CHOKMAH, and he gave judgment upon him.
At that point. Come on.
Then the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah in Riblah before his eyes. Also the king of Babylon slew all the nobles of Yehuda.
So now, the king of Babylon took Zedekiah. He slew, and it doesn't. Does it say it here? I didn't see it.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, come on. Hold on.
Moreover, he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon.
So now, what the king of Babylon had done to King Zedekiah was he slew all of his sons in front of him. And then he put out his eyes after he made him watch him slay all of his sons. And again, I'm just going to say, the God that they teach you about in America, right? The God that they teach you about in Europe and in Africa and all of those different places, the God that they tell you is all love and God accepts righteousness and that's it. And these are the extreme measures that God takes when it comes to certain things. And so he slew him. He slew his sons in front of him and he put out his eyes. But the thing that I want to talk about for a minute is God had already told Zedekiah multiple times through the prophet Jeremiah. He had already told him, give into Babylon. Give into Babylon. Zedekiah and Zedekiah's noblemen made a choice to disobey God. And so because of that choice that they made to disobey God, this is the results. And I want us to understand that when we choose, whatever our choices that we make, our choices have consequences. Especially in the time that God comes to bring forth judgment.
That's right.
I want us to remember that. Because I know a lot of times what happens is we get worked up and we get upset and we don't really mean to do some of the things that we think that we don't mean to do. But we do it. And the actions that we take have consequences before God. Especially when God comes to bring forth judgment. I just want us to remember that. Our choice. Consequences, judgment from God. Come on.
And the Chaldeans burned the king's house and the house of the people with fire and broke down the walls of Jerusalem. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive into Babylon the remnant of the people that remained in the city. And the deserters also that fell away to him with the rest of the people that remained. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left of the poor of the people that had nothing in the land of Yehuda and gave them vineyards and fields in that day.
So now, I just want to ask the question. Why they came in, they broke the walls down, they burned the city with fire. They took the nobles, they took the skilled, and the poor people who had nothing they left behind. The older people, they left behind. Why is that? It's the same reason, it's the same concept of what they did, and when they did with the slaves in Africa, what they did was, because they had a long walk, they took the strong slaves, they took the wise slaves, they took the young slaves, the people who could make the journey, because those who were older and those who were sick was only going to slow you down and they were going to become a liability.
Right.
The other thing that happens in those days and times, and to some degree now, is the reason that they take the strong and the skilled is because those are going to be the people that they're going to use for whatever purpose that they're going to use them for. When you read the first chapter of Daniel, in the first few verses, you see that once they had those young captives, Daniel and Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, what they did was they saw wisdom and intelligence in them, so they called them and they taught them the Chaldean language, and they used them because they had skills and because they were smart. The other thing that I want to mention is you're right. You're right. Good point. Touche. All right. Oh, man. Y'all got to forgive us. I love my people. The other thing that we need to consider is once they took the strong out of the land, once they took the army, and once they took them away, and they just left the poor, what that allowed to happen is that allowed the invaders from other countries to be able to come in and start to take over land because there was nobody to protect them. One of the major invaders that came in during this time was the Philistines. The Philistines came in, and the Philistines actually occupy the land from that point until this day. Philistines, Palestinians, and that's one of the major reasons that you see this back and forth in Israel now with the Philistines and the Palestinians, is because the Palestinians and the Israelis, is because the Palestinians was like, how y'all gonna come in here now? We've been dwelling in this land, we've been owning this land, even though they took it once the children of Israel went out. We've been dwelling in this land for hundreds of years. And now y'all just come in and y'all bringing these Europeans in and saying that now we're giving this land back to them. And that's why you have this constant fight and this constant war between the Israelis and the Palestinians, because the Palestinians been there forever, ever since we left, along with some of the other nations in that region. And the major thing that we need to remember as it relates to that, can you put up that picture of, and it's a picture of me, but it's not a picture of me for pride purposes. I'm trying to send a message. Can you put that picture of me up? Because I wanna show a point. If rotate it out. If you look, that person that's in that picture that I'm taking a picture with from when I went to Israel, that's a Palestinian. That's a Palestinian that been in the land. When I spoke to him and his family, he said him and his family have been in that land for centuries. And if you look at that Palestinian and you look at me, you'll see that we both have that rosy red complexion. That's how Palestinians look. That's how people in the land look. And the only reason that I'm putting that picture up is because I want to show a comparison, because I know the people who look like him are not the ones that they show on TV. The people who look like him aren't the ones that are in the parliament and in the Senate and all of those different things. And they do that for a reason. They do it on purpose. They don't want to show you people who look like us because they don't want they don't want colored, melanated people to have any connection to the land of Israel. And that's why I took the picture with him, because I want y'all to see that me and him, he looked like he about 20, 30, 40 years older than me. I was looking fit and trim then, but I'm just saying, we look same complexion. Same exact complexion. Don't get fooled by the propaganda and them telling you something different. The reason I have the picture and I put the picture up, because I want us to see that's how the natives, that's how the poor, and if you see them, regular working man, that's how they look. Just like you and me. Don't let them tell you any different. Come on.
Verse 11. Now Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, gave charge concerning Jeremiah to Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, saying, take him and look well to him, and do him no harm, but do unto him even as he shall say unto thee. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, sent in Nebushashban, Rabsaris, and Negal-Sarezer, Rabmag, and all the chief officers of the king of Babylon. They sent and took Jeremiah out of the court of the guard, and committed him unto Gedaliah, the son of Achikam, the son of Shaphan, that he should carry him home, so he dwelt among the people.
So this portion right here, they're actually going to expound on it a little bit more in verse 14, in chapter 40. But until we get to that point, I want y'all to just think about it for a minute. Out of all of those hundreds of thousands of captives that they took, out of all of the hundreds of thousands of captives that they walked from from Jerusalem to Babylon, why did they go open up a gate, and out of all of those people, why did they pick Jeremiah and pull him out? Just think about that. Out of all of those captives that they marched and changed from Israel, from Jerusalem to Babylon, why Jeremiah? Just think about it. Just think about it. We'll get to that. Come on.
Now the word of Yahweh came unto Jeremiah while he was shut up in the court of the guard, saying, Go and speak to Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will bring my words upon this city for evil and not for good, and they shall be accomplished before thee in that day. But I will deliver thee in that day, saith Yahweh, and thou shalt not be given into the hand of the men of whom thou art afraid. For I will surely deliver thee, and thou shalt not fall by the sword, but thy life shall be for a prey unto thee, because thou hast put thy trust in me, saith Yahweh.
She got me under pressure right now. Can you give me some more water? They got me under pressure right now. They about to take me down and do a question and answer period or something. Can you give me some water, please? Come on.
Chapter 40. The word which came to Jeremiah from Yahweh. After that, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he had taken him, being bound in chains among all the captives of Jerusalem and Yehudah that were carried away captive unto Babylon.
Come on.
And the captain of the guard took Jeremiah and said unto him, Yahweh thy God pronounced this evil upon this place.
Who said that?
Yahweh thy God pronounced this evil upon this place.
But start at 2. Who said God pronounced evil upon that place?
And the captain of the guard took Jeremiah and said unto him.
How does the captain of guard know? How does the captain of the guard of the king of Babylon know that God pronounced evil on Israel? God talked to who he want to talk to.
That's right.
God gives a message to who he wants to give a message to. We the only ones that are under the misimpression, the misinformation that God only talks to Israelites and God only gives insight, wisdom, and prophecy to Israelites. We the only ones that believe that. God told that to the captain of the host of the jail in Babylon. And he said to Jeremiah, this is why this people have been taken captives, chained, walked for hundreds of miles, chained into Babylon, because they forsook the law of God. And that's the message that he gave to the captain of the guard to give to Jeremiah, which Jeremiah already knew. Jeremiah already knew, because Jeremiah had been prophesying that for how many ever years? And at the very least, for the 12 years that, or the 11 plus years that Zedekiah was king, Jeremiah already knew. Come on.
And Yahweh hath bought it and done according as he spoke, because ye have sinned against Yahweh, and have not hearkened to his voice. Therefore this thing is come upon you. And now, behold, I loose thee this day from the chains which are upon thy hand. If it seem good unto thee.
Hold on, just stop right there. Because what I want to tell you is I want to talk about how good God is. Look at how good God is. Because like I said, out of all of those captives that they walked chained to Babylon, they went into the cage and they looked and they pointed out Jeremiah. How did they know to point out Jeremiah? Because God was with him. And they told the king, they told the captain, wherever Jeremiah is, you find him and you pull him out that jail and you allow him to do whatever it is that he want to do. And I say all of that to say, because even in the worst, even in the most downtrodden of situations, if you're right before God, God will take care of you. And that's what God is showing to Jeremiah. Because, yeah, guess what? Jeremiah was in the midst of all of the negative things that happened. Jeremiah saw the killing. Jeremiah saw the wall being broken down. Jeremiah saw all of the Israelites that died. Jeremiah saw all of that. Jeremiah, too, was chained hand and foot and walked to Babylon. So he was in the midst of the evil that everybody else is doing. And after all of that, God said to Jeremiah, you come out. You come out. For anybody who ever been in central booking or jail or anything like that, where everybody's sitting around and the guard come in, I'm giving certain things away, but that's okay. And the guard come in, as soon as the guard come in, everybody stand up because they want to know who made bail. That's what they want to know. I'm telling you a true story. They want to know who made bail. And the guard comes in and the guard calls out a name. At this point, they didn't have a name. They just pointed out Jeremiah because God showed them who needed to come out. Everybody else anxious and watched Jeremiah walk out. And you know what that showed everybody else? That showed everybody else that all of the righteousness and all of the godliness that Jeremiah exhibited when they were not exhibiting that paid off for Jeremiah. Because Jeremiah walked out and they basically told Jeremiah, you could go wherever you want and do whatever it is that you choose to do, because God was with him, because he stayed loyal to God. Staying loyal to God pays off. Sometimes you might have a little struggle. I'm not going to say it's going to be peaches and cream. Sometimes things might be a little hard. Nobody said life is going to be easy. But in the end, God is going to make sure that you're taken care of, because King David said, I was young and I am old. I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So even when things are choppy, even when things are bad, you can always count on God. Don't ever turn away. Yes. Don't ever turn away. Yes. Come on.
If it seem good unto thee to come with me into Babylon, come. And I will look well unto thee, but if it seem ill unto thee to come with me into Babylon, forbear. Behold, the land is before thee, whether it seemeth good and right unto thee to go with, thither go.
Go wherever you want. You want to go to Babylon, go to Babylon. You want to go back home to Israel, go back home. Wherever you want to go. And so what this portion of the conversation is this portion of the conversation actually took place before what happened in chapter 39. So they walked them all to Babylon. They pulled Jeremiah out of the cage, out of the jail, said, go wherever you want. Jeremiah decided he wanted to go back home. And then that's when you revert back to what it says in chapter 39, where it says, and then they put Jeremiah in the hands of Gedaliah, and they said, make sure you know nothing happened to this guy. The whole time, Jeremiah has something that God put on him that they said, the king of Babylon said, make sure nothing happens to this guy. Because God was with him. Because God was with him. Come on.
Verse 5. Yea, he will not go back. Go back then to Gedaliah, the son of Achikam, the son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon hath made governor over the cities of Yehuda, and dwell with him among the people, or go wheresoever it seemeth right unto thee to go. So the captain of the guard gave him an allowance and a present, and let him go.
Ain't that something? Mm-hmm. Just think about it for a minute. Ain't that something? Jeremiah, not only did Jeremiah walk out, they gave him an allowance, which you look at this word aruka, which is like a portion of food. They gave him something to eat, and they gave him a gift, and they said, blessed be the king who you serve. May the Most High God make your way prosperous, and let Jeremiah go wherever he wanted to go. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Then went Jeremiah unto Gedaliah the son of Achikam to Mitzpah, and dwelt with him among the people that were left in the land. Now when all the captains of the forces that were in the fields, even they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah the son of Achikam governor in the land.
So, hold on, before you go there, just can you put up that last picture? It's the picture that says Mitzpah on it. I just want y'all to see exactly where Mitzpah is. Mitzpah is actually in the land of Benjamin. And if you go through the history, Mitzpah was a common place where it was a common central place where all of the Israelites used to meet for a variety of different things, where all of the tribes used to meet. And the thing about, it was an interesting thing about Mitzpah. When it came to the Babylonians, the first thing that the Babylonians did was, because they left a remnant of the people in the land, what the Babylonians did was they had to set somebody in charge. And they had to set somebody in charge who they felt comfortable with, who they trusted. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But what they didn't do was they allowed them to go back and assemble in Mitzpah. But what they didn't do was they didn't allow them to go back into Jerusalem, because what happened in Jerusalem is, if they would have gone back into Jerusalem, it took them 2.5 years to break that wall down. If they would have built that wall back up, they would have been fighting with them to try to get that wall down again. But they did allow them to go and gather in Mitzpah. Come on.
Now when all the captains of the forces that were in the fields, even they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah the son of Achikam governor of the land, and had committed unto him men and women and children, and of the poorest of the land, of them that were not carried away captive to Babylon, Then they came to Gedaliah to Mitzpah, even Ishmael, the son of Netaniah, and Yochanan, and Jehonatan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, and the sons of Ephah, the Netephothite, and Yazaniah, the son of Maacatite. They and their men, and Gedaliah, the son of Akikan, the son of Shaphan, swore unto them and to their men, saying, fear not to serve the Chaldeans.
So now, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a little time because I want to talk about this for a minute. The king of Babylon, and I just need y'all to stay with me because I know y'all might think I'm going off a little bit, but just stay with me. The king of Babylon put Gedaliah in charge. And you see the first thing that Gedaliah said to everybody. Gedaliah said this to the people who he was in charge of. And also when those different Israelites started to come back from different places, from over in the land of Moab and over in the land of Ammon and from Edom and from Aram, when they started to come in, the first thing that Gedaliah said to them is, listen, whatever you do, we need to make sure that we serve the Chaldeans, and as long as we serve the Chaldeans, everything is going to be okay. And so what I'm saying is, what the Babylonians did was the Babylonians chose a governor that would uphold what? The Babylonian agenda. Don't make waves. As long as you uphold the Babylonian agenda, you'll be fine. And I'm telling you that that's what happened in Babylon, and I'm telling you that that's what happens right here now in America. What they do is America puts people in charge because what Americans put people in charge who will support the American agenda.
Right.
Don't make waves. Don't start causing problems, because as soon as we put you in charge, as soon as you start to make waves, that's when people get blackballed. And what I want y'all to consider is this: the government, any government, whether it's Babylon or the United States, they put people in charge and they put people in certain places in order that you can keep the masses calm. Because the Babylonians, Babylon, that whole Levant area, which the Babylonians were in control of, 280,000 square miles. The United States, 3.5 million square miles with a population of 331 million people. The only way that you're going to be able to control 3.5 million miles, 3.5 million square miles, and 331 million people is if you put people in control, and put people in control that can push American agenda. That's the only way. That's the reason why they got somebody like Hank Aaron to take the COVID vaccine and promote it, because they knew elder black people, a whole lot of them, weren't taking the COVID vaccine. That's why they had Hank Aaron to do it. Because black people had made it clear that they were not going to take the vaccine, and they were like, we need to get somebody who black people feel comfortable with and black people trust, in order that they will trust us, because they know that they don't trust America, so maybe they'll trust the person that we plan in. That's the reason why you ever see on the news now, and you see all of these commercials for vaccines. Who they got pushing those commercials? They got the youngest, they got the cutest, they got the finest black nurses that you could ever believe telling you to take that vaccine. Why? Because they know that we have not trusted captives for so long, and the way that they're going to gain the trust, or not gain the trust, but get them to do it, is if we get somebody who they feel comfortable that they trust. So now, as you can see, that plan is not really working right now. Because what you actually have right now is America at its core is actually coming apart. When you have 45 mass shootings in 30 days, there's a problem. And again, I want y'all to understand, I'm not sympathetic. I'm not unsympathetic to the people who died. I just want y'all to understand what I'm saying. I want y'all to understand that things in America are coming apart just like things in Rome came apart. It was the same way. Nobody couldn't defeat Rome. Rome got defeated from within. And as soon as Rome got defeated from within, that's when other nations started to come about and started to be able to attack and be able to win.
That's right.
So, 45 mass shootings in 30 days.
It's crazy.
And you can't, just think about it. 45 mass shootings in 30 days. And that doesn't even include all of the shootings that have been going on in our neighborhoods for the last however long. It doesn't include that. And with all of that shooting, with all of that death, you mean to tell me that the leaders of this country can't come together to figure out a way to resolve this problem? Listen, when that shooting happened in New Zealand, when the guy came in and he went into the mosque and he shot all of those people, the Prime Minister of New Zealand said, you know what? No guns, and she shut all of that down, and you haven't heard about any of that happening again. So if it can happen in New Zealand, why can't it happen here?
Talk about it.
Why is there no uproar about 45 mass shootings in 30 days? And I'm going to just tell you why. Because the Knicks is winning. Because the Knicks is winning. And LeBron is coming back in a couple of weeks. And Steph Curry is putting up major crazy numbers right now. So what they have you doing is they have you distracted, thinking about other things and not thinking about what's important.
That's right.
And that's always been the agenda. So now, I just want to talk about it. The reason that I feel a need to discuss the political aspect of this, because the political aspect of all of this affects our existence, our ability to live, and our ability to get back to God. That's why I talk about it. That's why I bring it up. That's why I talk about it and try to help us to understand what it is that's holding us back from getting closer to God. Because guess what? If our people don't recognize the distractions, if our people don't recognize the agenda of the captors, then it makes it difficult for them to return to God. Listen,
That's right.
in order for you to return to God, you need to realize and recognize that God is absent in your life in the first place. And if you don't see it, and you can't recognize it, there's going to be no urgency to return to God because you're too comfortable. And you thinking, hey, it can't be nothing better than this because I got a big TV and I got Facebook and I got TikTok and I got all of these different things. And again, the Knicks is winning. The Knicks is winning.
Absolutely.
So we don't see the need to return to God because we're not hurting. We're not hurting, so we don't see the need to return to God. Listen, guess what? I'm looking at a couple of business deals, right? And I'm looking at some properties. And what they said right now is they said, right now, the housing market is at an all-time high. So if you're going to bid on properties, be prepared to get into, if you're going to purchase a property, be prepared to get into bidding wars with other people. Because property is at an all-time high and everybody's buying. My question is, if since the pandemic started, over 1 million people lost their job and unemployment went through the roof and all of these people are unemployed, where do people get money to buy houses and get into bidding wars? Right. Better question. Right. Who's the people that are in the bidding wars buying property if most of America has been broken by the pandemic because they lost their job? I'm just asking. Yes, for him. So who's buying? Where the money coming from? Because it's not coming from us. Because we were the ones, the restaurant workers and all of those different things. Millions and millions of people, the reason that they're trying to push everybody back to work is not because it's safe, not because the vaccine is safe. They pushing people back to work because we need to fix the economy now. That's why. I read an article from the CEO of Pfizer. The CEO of Pfizer said, based on our research, everyone who got a vaccine, you will probably need to get a booster every year. So if you need to get a booster every year, what's the purpose of the vaccine? Don't sound like a vaccine, it sounds like a flu shot that you get every year. So, how do I talk about all of this? Because we need to know, and we need to understand. So I talk about it, I'm going to continue to talk about it, because we need to know and because we need to understand. Harriet Tubman said, listen, I freed thousands of slaves, and I would have been able to free thousands more if they knew they were slaves. That means we in these uncomfortable positions, and we've gotten so used to it that our upward mobility isn't even a topic anymore because we're comfortable. You know, I looked up the definition of nation, and they said that a nation is a group of people who share land, culture, and a language. Another major component of what a nation is that group of people have to have is they also need to share economics. And so what I'm saying is we can't believe that we're taking steps towards being a nation if we're not seeking to become financially vested in us.
That's right.
This is not my money talk, this is just real talk. If you still talking about getting a building by yourself, and I'm still talking about getting a building by myself, and we all are looking to put up looking to get a mortgage for $500,000, guess what? And I understand. I already hear it coming. I don't care. And the reason that I don't care is because we need to understand that we are more powerful together than we are separate. That's the part that we need to understand. So if you're going yag about that, that's what we need to understand. So I just want to understand, if we are not taking steps, and I want to talk about these two things specifically, if we're not taking steps towards getting a unified understanding so that we can become closer to God together, if we're not taking a step to get a unified support so that we can take care of each other, and then us be able to take care of other people who can't take care of themselves, how then can you say you seeking true unity?
Come on.
Fear not to serve the Chaldeans, dwell in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. As for me, behold, I will dwell at Mizpah to stand before the Chaldeans that may come unto us. But ye, gather ye wine and summer fruits and oil, and put them in your vessels, and dwell in your cities that ye have taken. Likewise, in all the Hebrews that were in Moab, and among the children of Ammon.
And so, I'm sorry, you see just look at what Gedaliah is saying. Gedaliah is saying, listen, it's going to be okay. We're going to get some summer fruits, and we're going to plant some fruits, and we're going to have some wine, and we're going to do all of these things, and we're going to be okay. God just had the Babylonians come in and destroy the wall and take hundreds of thousands of people captive. Killed how many ever hundreds of thousands more? How is he now talking about, after all of that death, after all of that captivity, how is he now talking about, let's just plant some summer fruits and drink some wine and everything gonna be okay? He is pushing the Babylonian agenda. That's what Babylon put him there for. Come on.
And among the children of Ammon and in Edom, and that were all in the countries, heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant of Yehuda, and that he had set over them Gedaliah the son of Achikon, the son of Shaphan. Then all the Hebrews returned out of all places whither they were driven, and came to the land of Yehuda, to Gedaliah unto Mizpah, and gathered wine and summer fruits in great abundance. And
this is just one of the portions that I like to go to, just to show people that the southern kingdom stopped being just Judah and Benjamin and Levi when they went into Babylon. When they came back from Babylon, you had the southern kingdom, and you had all of those other tribes that had now came, and they all started to gather back down in the southern kingdom. And what you also had is you also had the Ammonites and the Moabites and all of those different people who came in at the same time. So that's why when you see and when you read in encyclopedias and in history books, they show you there's a difference between the kingdom of Judah, which is Israel, and the Judean kingdom, which is everybody else that was in the region. They make a distinction between the two. So when people start to say that that at that point they were all Jews, and then the Jews went from the Jews to Ionim, and then they went from Ionim to this, to this, to this, and then they come up with the term Jew from all of that, that's why I don't subscribe to that, because that's at the point that they started taking them out of there the second time, they were taking everybody, not just Israelites. Come on.
Moreover, Yochanan the son of Kareah and all the captains of the forces that were in the fields came to Gedaliah to Mizpah and said unto him.
What verse you in?
14.
14, okay.
Dost thou know that Baalis, the king of the children of Ammon, have sent Yisrael the son of Netaniah to take thy life?
Now here go the gossip. Here go the people starting to instill all of those different things. So because I'm just gonna wrap this up, just so you know what's happening now, and this actually continues in 41 and in 42, you have Gedaliah, who is the plant that the king of Babylon set in. And then you have Ishmael, who's the plant that the king of Ammon sent in. And so now what you have is you have two sets of Israelites that are fighting each other, one over a Babylonian agenda, the other one over an Ammonite agenda, and nobody has a children of Israel agenda. Sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
I'm just asking. Does it sound familiar? I'm just asking because we have a Jewish agenda, and then we have an ISUPK agenda, and we have all of these different Israelite agendas of the one, and nobody has an agenda that says we need to come together and grow some food so that we can feed each other in case something else happens. Where's that agenda? Come on.
But Gedaliah the son of Achikam believed them not. Then Yochanan the son of Kareah spoke to Gedaliah in Mizpah secretly, saying, Let me go, I pray thee, and I will slay Ishmael the son of Netaniah, and no man shall know it. Wherefore should he take thy life, that all the Hebrews that are gathered unto thee should be scattered, and the remnant of Yehudah perish? But Gedaliah the son of Achikam said unto Yochanan the son of Kareah, Thou shalt not do this thing, but thou speakest falsely of Ishmael. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks I offer unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, thanking him for all things and thanking him for everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers, Shabbat Shalom Nicole.
Shabbat Shalom Nakah.